All right, this is going to be video audio engineering class, video 5 part 2. And what I wanted to do was show how your DAW mixer correlates to an actual mixer. Even though there are people that have, everything is based off analog mixers. Maybe people knew that, maybe they didn't. Because even digital mixers are based off analog mixers, and that's simply because a digital mixer became an alternative to an analog mixer. So they basically built them that way. Well, your mixer in your audio, your digital audio workstation, it's basically designed to function like a analog mixer. It's just that you have to you have to create everything. So I'm going to open up we got Cakewalk opened up here, but every DAW is different as far as their mixes. So I'm going to open up a few different DAWs, but I'm gonna start with Cakewalk. And right now I got a blank tape machine. So this section right here is the tape machine. Unlike a real tape machine, like I was showing in the other video, where, like for example, ADAT, I had 3 ADATs, which gave me 24 tracks. But you can make in your DAW, you can make as many tracks as needed, up to some DAWs max them out to about 256 tracks, but I don't know anyone that needs 256 recording tracks. That's just excessive. But so you're gonna start off in your tape machine. So let me get rid of the browser window and the inspector window. So we got a blank tape machine. And what's unique about DAWs, and pretty much all DAWs do this, is when you build your tracks, your recording tracks in your tape machine, it's going to start building the mixer for you. And a lot of people probably knew this. Some people probably didn't know that, but that's what it's doing. So if I needed, for example, let's say I was just going to do all audio tracks, because I'm going to record all my sources from external sources like microphones to record vocals, or use microphones to record guitar cabinets, or use microphones to record drums, or if I'm going to use the microphones to record bass cabinets or whatever, you're going to record those as audio, unless you're going to use the internal instruments inside the DAW, or you got some VST software instruments. Then you can create instrument tracks instead of an audio track. It's up to you. But so let's say here I'm gonna Control T, and let's say I'll create 24 tracks. So I'll let it create. So if I got 16, so if I hit D, what it did was it made 16. It made 16 it made 16 tracks, audio tracks. Right? So and like in programs like with Cakewalk, what it tends to do is it will make some default tracks over here. Like I don't need a metronome channel, so I can come over here and I can delete this metronome one, and I don't need a preview track, so I can delete that one. But these are what it does, it automatically. So I built 16 tracks over here. So I'm gonna since I built 16 recordable tracks in my tape machine, it made 16 it made 16 channels for my mixer. And then it's got the master output. As you can see, like I was talking about in the other video, where you got a master output here. It, pretty much all DAWs do that, where your input channels, then you got your master output channel, because all the input channels are going to go into the master output channel, pretty much. So there's no auxiliary channels and there's no bus channels because I have to create them, right? So I'm gonna get rid of the that. Let's say I'm gonna do 24, so I'm gonna add 8 more tracks. So now I got 24 recordable tracks. So this part of the screen is your tape machine, right? And so I'm gonna spread these out a little bit. So this is your tape machine, and most DAWs start you off at the tape machine. I don't know too many DAWs that start you off the mixing window, simply because when there's a mixing window, there's usually, if you don't have any tracks, there's no mixer for it to create. So that's why they usually don't start you off at the mixer. They usually just start you off there at your tape machine, because you're going to record into your tape machine, and then you're going to record. Then you're going to edit you're going to edit your tape machine, just like if you had in studios they had a 2-inch tape machine, and they would use a razor blade to cut up and slide the tracks around. Well, you ain't got to worry about razor blades in your DAW. You just record the tracks. So other than that, let's go to because I'm not really worried. We're not going to talk about the track tape machine portion of your DAW. That's different videos. But we are going to talk about the mixing console. So now you can see here, I'm just going to open this mixer window all the way up. So now we got a full-fledged mixer. We got one, because I created 24 tracks. It made 24 channels of my mixing console, and like I said, I got rid of those other buses, but because I didn't need a metronome or a preview bus. So I got a master output, but I still have to create my bus group channels and my auxiliary channels. So in Cakewalk, what it likes to do is, depending on what channel you're on, if you create your auxiliary channels, it usually builds it next to that channel, because it assumes you're going to make that channel that you're working on, you're going to immediately send it to the auxiliary. But in a real situation, I like to come to the last track. It's just easier for me to manage my tracks this way. I usually like to come to the last track, and then I'll come and create auxiliaries. So since I'm on channel 24, now I'm going to create some auxiliaries. So what it did was it built an auxiliary channel right next to 24 here. Not all DAWs work like this, but Cakewalk works like this. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to 24. I'm going to make another auxiliary. It builds another one. And then I'm just going to keep building. I'm going to keep adding some more auxiliary tracks. And you can see my window here on my console is starting to spread, because I'm building auxiliary channels. Right? So now I got 4, but you can make as many as you want. I think in the options window for sends, it says maximum that I can see. I'm gonna change it to 8, so I can, if I want to do 6 auxiliary sends, I can do that. So now I can see 8, or I can make sends unlimited, so I can make 25 auxiliary channels if I wanted to. So now I got 4 auxiliary channels that it made. So, and they automatically put them to post. So what happens in pre and post is, on a console, if you have it in post, when you bring the fader down, it brings the volume that you're going to send to your auxiliary to those other channels down as well. But in a lot of cases, most of the time I take it off a post, which means if you take it off a post, it goes to pre, meaning pre-fader. What that does is allow these auxiliary channels to receive their inputs independently of the output of this channel, of this channel, for example. So no matter what I'm doing to the volume here, it won't affect here. And so what that allows me to do is, for example, on auxiliaries 1, since auxiliaries here became auxiliary 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if I put a reverb unit, let's do a reverb unit. Let's do an effect. Let me see. Let me see here. Let me find a let me see here. Or better yet, let me go back to effects. Reverbs. Okay, here we go. So if I put like this reverb, now on that channel, I got a reverb unit, right? So I have a reverb unit going on here. So if I open up, that's my reverb unit. So now let's say, for example, channel 1. Let's say I got some drums on channel 1. So this is auxiliary. I'm going to let's see here, or better yet, let me go back to the tracking window, and what I want to do is I'm going to insert an instrument track. Okay, so let's insert an instrument track. Let's do this power kit. Okay. Okay, so we got an instrument track going on. Okay, that's fine. It made it at 29, which is fine. That's fine. So now I come to 20 right here. So I'm going to. So we got some drums. You're not hearing it because I'm not here to play audio right now. I'm just trying to show you how your mixing console correlates to an actual console. So if I come in, let's say I come over here and add a groove in. I come and add a groove, right? So I'm just going to add a little simple 8-bar groove. So let's grab this groove 5, right? I guess I could have hooked up the audio so you can hear, but I just want to show you how they correlate for now. I'll do that in another video. So we got an 8-bar groove going on now, right? So, all right. So now, let me rewind. So I can play this. I got this groove going on. Okay. So I got this 8-bar groove going on. So if I play it, you'll see the meters. The meters are playing. You can see the meters going. So it's got this 8-bar groove going. So now what happens is, let me go back to the mixer. So if I play this, I'm going to open up that effect processor that I got on channel 1, but it's not going to see anything when I play this groove. There's no signal going on. Nothing's happening here, right? And that's simply because I'm not sending that channel to that auxiliary yet. So if I stop it, and then I add DAW, and I'm gonna put it on post. Now I got it going because I turned that auxiliary send on. That's my volume control, just like you would on a real console. You got a volume control and all that here. Now when I play this, it will start seeing signal, right? Now there's signal going to that auxiliary. So now I can blend these two together. Yeah, you can blend these two together independent of each other. So I might want to put, for example, let's go to, let's loop that. And let me take it off of D. And I'm gonna make this loop 1 to 5. Yeah, that's fine. It'll loop 4 bars. So now I'm playing. Now it's sending signal to that auxiliary because I'm sending it that way. So that's what you want to do. So now here's another thing. So now, in Cakewalk, since I don't have any buses, I'm gonna take this out. Next to my master channel, except Cakewalk is on the left. It puts all the master and your buses to the buses are to the right. But on most consoles, the buses are usually be to the left of the master. But in this situation, it's going to build the buses to the right of the master. So I'm going to insert some stereo buses. Let's say 8. I'm going to insert 8 stereo buses. Just like a console. And some consoles can do up to 32 buses. It just depends on the console. In case you want to build that many buses groups. But so I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, I got. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's see, 5, 6, 7. So I got 9 bus groups. So I'm gonna delete this last one. So now I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 bus groups. So now on that drum bus that I just built on this channel 29, I can also reroute this to go to the master. Instead of going to the master here, I'm going to route the in and output here to go to a bus group. So I'm going to send it to bus B. All right, let's see. I sent it to bus B. So what I'll do. So now what's going to happen is, let me slide this over so I can see the drums. Now, if I leave it in out, if I leave the output, change it back to master, it's only going to show up on the master bus here, or the main output on the console, right? So it's going to the so it's going to the master output, but I'm also sending it to that auxiliary channel here to get reverb on it, right? So, but let's say I want to make it let's say I had a whole bunch of drums. All the drums are on different channels, right? Like kick on one channel, snare on another channel, hi-hat another channel, toms on other channels, overheads on another channel, room mics on another channel. And I want to group them all together and send them all so I can, bus B, I can rename that and call it my drum bus, right? So now when I want to send, I can stop this. Instead of going to my master, I wanted to go to my drum bus. So I'm going to send to my drum bus. Now it's going to show up at my drum bus, right? Just like you would on a real console. If I assign channels here on the console to go to the bus group, I just got to assign it. It'll go to the bus group, and then that can go to the master. So it'll show up here. So now it's there. It's being shown on the bus group here, which allows me to put a drum bus compressor or something like that on that case I want to compress the entire drums together to create a drum bus, which is what you would want to do. So now I can add in my dynamics, which would be like, for example, a compressor, right? So let's see. let's say I wanted to add this compressor. So now I added a drum on my drum bus, and now I can add a compressor to that, and that will go to my compressor as well. So when I play this drum, now you can see this is lighting up. These are emulation of 2s, but this is happen to be this type of compressor. I can change the master. You can see it change the volume based on the threshold. I don't want to kick in that fast. I want it to be a little bit slow. The compressor to kick in a little bit slower. So now you can look at, if I look at the meter, look at the meter. I got it at 0, so it's automatic. It kicked in so fast, I can't see any gain reduction here. So what I want to do is I want to change the threshold. So what's going to happen is, let's say I set my threshold to 30, right? Now you can see the meter here, and I want to change the ratio. So watch, if I change the ratio, see how the meters change based on my ratio. In other words, it's reducing so many dBs that is coming in down to 1 dB out. And then how fast I want it. Let's see. Look how fast the needle jumps if I put it to really, really fast attack. It's versus if I slow it down, it'll start moving slower. Slower attack, and your release time. How many milliseconds of release and how many milliseconds of a fast attack. So I got a little bit slower attack, a faster release. And I'll talk about compressors and EQs in another video, which is going to come up. I'm going to talk about EQs and compressors because those are, and I'll talk about reverbs and delays in different videos. But so I can look at my input signal, I can look at the output signal, and I can look at the gain reduction, how much I'm gaining. So if I change this compression to 3-to-1, you'll see the needle versus if I go 2-to-1. Look at my gain. Look how gain reduction. It's a little bit less reduction. So I'm only doing 2-to-1. But as I changed it, like if I go to 8-to-1, look how much. Look at the dB meter. That's how much gain I'm reducing down to 1 dB out, from 8 in to 1 out. So if I go to 7, or if I go to 6, if I go to 5, or I go to 3, you can see the gain reduction is changing. So if I look at the output, and so it changes based on my gain reduction. But if I change my threshold, that's just when you want the compressor to kick in. And that would, so that's how you can set your compressor. But you want to set your compressors, all that, on buses and things like that. But you want to put all your effects like reverbs and delays on auxiliary channels. So I can take, like for example, I stop this. I can also, let's say I want a delay on, I got an effect, reverb on effect 2. And then I got a delay on effect 3. So let's put a delay. I'll put this delay unit. You can change the output and all this on the delay, whatever, depends on what delay unit you want to use. But what's going to happen, once again, I put this on there, but it won't see any signal. Even if I play it, there's no signal coming in, because I'm not sending anything to it. Now, if I come over here and I want to go to auxiliary 2, now it's got signal. Now you see that the needle's moving. So now we got signal, right? So we got signal going on now. And I also got a drum bus. This is how you build your console, because this is what engineers are going to do on a real console. This is exactly what they're going to do in a real console. So you want to do this in your DAW. So let me stop this and let me talk about the signal flow right quick. So let me go, for example, I'm going to go to channel 1. For example, in Cakewalk, let's talk about the signal flow. So once again, in Cakewalk, it gives you the gain input, just like you would on the gain input on the real console. At the top of the console, it's at the top of the channel, like it's supposed to. So you got your gain input here, and then because I built some auxiliaries, even though these are, it says FX, and even though it says FX here in Cakewalk, those are really called sends, you know, or inserts, effects inserts. So if I click on it, it's insert. You see the word insert here? That's what they really are, inserts. But they call them effect inserts because that's where you want to insert effects and stuff like that. And these sends are auxiliary sends. Sometimes they call them cues. A lot of times we'll use cues for like sending to a cue mix, like headphone setup. So you got auxiliary outputs that can come out of your interface. You can set up some auxiliary outputs come out of your interface to go into like a headphone mix. Some interfaces already have built-in headphone jacks in them, so you don't need to do that. But some of them you literally got to do that. So that's what's going on. You got inserts like you would on a real console, and then you also got auxiliary sends. You just have to build them like I built. Like I built 4 of them. So I can come over here and say, let's say here, one, I could turn it on, 2, 3. So all 4 auxiliary sends are turned on. And if I don't want any volume going to any of those sends, I just turn the volume down. And if I had anything on channel 1, it would no longer go to my auxiliary. So other than that, it's coming from the master. It's coming from It's coming from the input, so you can control the gain input of that channel. Then it's going to come from there directly to your fader, just like you would on the console. It's going to the fader. And of course, you have the ability to pan, you have the ability to mute it. You know, you can solo the track, you can arm the track, because, like I said in the other video, they like to connect the mixer to the tape machine. But on the real console, there would be no arming track there. Some consoles, you have the ability to do automation, like on some SSLs and all that. And because you have a monitor input to listen to what's going on as you're doing things in your, in your DAW, but in a real console, you're not doing it. You're already monitoring through your speakers. So you don't need a monitor, but you do need that for an interface, because the interface don't have speakers on it. So those are the common signal flow. Now what would happen is, coming into the channel here, I'm gonna go back to channel 29 since I had drums on channel 29. So it's coming into the channel gain input here. So if I play this and I turn the gain down, the volume got really, really low. But if I turn the gain input up, the volume on the channel is going to increase, as you can see here. Right? So because it's coming through the preamp section of the channel here. Then it's going to the fader, unless I decide that I wanted to use EQ or something like that. Let's say I want to use an EQ on the channel like you would on the console. Most consoles have EQs on them, minimum, at least an EQ. Here in the DAW, you just gotta add it. In Cakewalk, they got what they call a pro channel. So you just gotta do the pro channel. So I'm gonna move this out the way. My master and bus groups, I'm gonna move it out the way. And the EQ is here, right? So it's got the EQ. You just gotta turn it on. So you could turn it on this way, and it turns the EQ on. And what Cakewalk allows you to span it to see it. So I can see the EQ more and more depth. So now, of course, on your EQ, you know, you got your high, your mid-high, your mid-low, and your low. And then, of course, you got your filtering, your low-pass filtering to let all signals below a particular frequency to pass through, or high pass filters, which allows on the low end to let any frequencies below a certain frequency to pass through. High passing filters or low passing filter, they just put it on the EQ, and on the in most DAWs they just put it with the EQ. And even if I don't use this EQ, I can turn this EQ off, right? I can turn it off and not use that EQ, and I can go ahead and just insert my own EQ. So if I want to insert my own EQ, I just come to my EQs and insert my own EQ. Like, let's say I want to use an API EQ instead. So I'll just use an API 550B as an example. So it's going to give me an API 550B EQ. So now I have a 4-band. I'm going to close all that extra window out. So now I got an extra 4-band EQ. Instead of me using the channels EQ that will be on the console like you see here, I'm going to insert an EQ. And some DAWs you have to do that, right? So, and now it's going to flow from the preamp here into the EQ. So I got the EQ turned on. So now if I play this, you can see I got metering going on. So now it's going to the EQ. Then I can make my EQ adjustments here. And then it's coming to the fader. And then from the fader, then it's going to go to the auxiliary sends. And because I've got it to buses, and then it's going to go to the buses. That's how the signal's going to flow. So that's the general idea how they flow in your console in the DAW as well. So I'm going to stop this. I'm going to turn that off, and I'm not going to save. I'm going to close that out. I'm going to open up one more for time because it's already 32 minutes. I'm going to open up one more DAW. Let's do Studio One. I'll open up Studio One. Or better yet, yeah, let's do no. Well, I'm gonna go to Reason. Because you're doing the same thing in Studio One like I was doing in Cakewalk. You're gonna set up your mixer the same way, but okay. So since I'm already got it open, let me open up and let me do an empty song. Same thing, right? So let's say I want to add some tracks. So I'm going to hit T. Let's do 16 stereo track. Let's do 24 tracks, right? So it's going to make 24 tracks. So now I got 24 tracks, right? Same thing. 24 tracks. And same thing, hit F3. Except in Studio One, they don't give you the gain input. They don't give you the gain input at the top like they do in Cakewalk. I wish they did. They do give you a trim level or gain input, which moves the fader here, but I wish you could control, the gain input. Like you can on a console, like you could in Cakewalk. The concept's still the same. If I come over here to channel 24, then there's my main. It says main. Some says master. Some DAW says main. Like Studio One says main here. And then, of course, the ability to insert stuff on that channel or send it to auxiliary sends. For example, I'll go auxiliary send. So I need to add, just like I said in Cakewalk, an FX or an auxiliary They might call it an FX channel or an auxiliary channel or send, because they're all called sends. We're calling them sends here. Send, you know, we want to send it out to an auxiliary send. Same concept. So I'm going to add some FX channels. So I'm going to add one. Let me add another FX channel 2. Another add FX channel 3. Add another FX channel. So now it added 4 auxiliary channels, just like it did just like in Cakewalk. It did the same thing. Now I got 4 auxiliary channels. So that's where I'm going to insert my effects. So the same thing I did. So if I come back over here, I'm going to take the mixer out. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come over here to channel 24, and then I'm going to insert an instrument track. So I like Cakewalk. Here, you just drag my instrument. So I come over here to my instruments. And I'm going that same thing, PT, you know, my drum kit, power kit. I'm going to drag that to 225 here. And same thing, I'm going to find me a groove, little 8-bar groove. Well, that's 4-bar groove, right? Right, so close hi-hat, let's see. Yeah, we do it here. 4-bar groove. So I'm just going to take that, I'm just going to slide that to there. So now I got a 4-bar groove, I'm just going to loop it. So my loop, yeah, we're gonna loop it 4 bars here. So now I can turn my loop on. It's gonna loop. So now it's gonna play 4, you know, just gonna loop. So now I got signal going. So now I'm gonna bring it back on my mixer. So I got my mixer going, and it's the channel, and that's automatically going. My inputs and outputs main is automatically routed to my master output, which is the main output, right? So it's not going to go to any auxiliaries because I'm not sending it to any auxiliaries yet, right? So for me to send it to auxiliary, let's say on FX1, auxiliary channels 1, which is one right here. It don't have to be FX1. You can rename that. I can name that auxiliary, you know, auxiliary 1 if I wanted to. Now it's named auxiliary 1, right? So I named it auxiliary 1 instead of FX1. You don't have to, you know, so you don't have to keep it with the, you know, the DAWs defaulted. So the same concept. And also, I also want to create bus channels. So I'm going to add, let's say, I'm going to add, let me see, some bus channels. Let's, you know, I might want to add 8 bus groups. So we got, let's see. So now I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bus groups. I'll leave it there for now. So what I want to do on this drum channel that's going on channel 25 here, what I want to do, if I let it play, what I want to do is I want to send that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing I did with the other one. I'm going to go to effects, and I'm going to let's see here. I'm going to add that same effect unit right here on auxiliary 1. Same one, right? So now, well, let me leave it up. So now I'm going to come to here, and I want to send to auxiliary 1, right? So if I play, now auxiliary 1 is playing. You can see here auxiliary 1 is playing. But also, instead of going to my, I also want to go to a bus group to add a compressor on it, just like I did the other one. So what I'm gonna do is, you can see I got signal coming to my auxiliary, my effect unit. So what I'm gonna do, let me open this up. I'm gonna turn the volumes down to all those other bus groups. I want that to still go to my auxiliary. But now, the other bus groups don't have any signal going to it. So I'm going to take bus 1 and start sending signal to bus 1. And I want this to go to bus 1 instead of my master, because my bus group is going to go. It's going to go from that channel to the bus group, and then from the bus group, that's going to go to the master. So now I got signal at my bus group, and that allows me to put a compressor on that, so I can. Let's say I wanted to put a compressor, like a compressor on that bus group to create a drum bus compressor. Same thing, right? So I'm going to add, let's do the CLA Stereo 76. I'll put that on bus group 1. So now that's going to add my compressor. So now when I play, you'll see this will start to activate. So now we got the compressor going. We got 4 to 1, we got a and the output, and whatever my attack, how fast I want, how fast I want my attack, how fast I want the bit of release. I want to look at gain reduction, if I want to look at the input signal, the output signal, the gain reduction signal, and so forth. I can monitor that. You're looking at the VU meter. So now I got this 76 on as my bus compressor as I got those drums going to. So that's what you're doing. So the signal flows the exact same way, like I was explaining in Cakewalk. So I'm going to stop this. I'm going to say no, I don't want to save that. Close that out. Okay, let me do one more. I'll do Reason Studio, because Reason Studio already has everything built. You don't have to build anything in Reason Studio. You don't have to build the mixer. It's already built in Reason Studio. So I'm just going to open it up and let you see the mixer signal flow of that. So as soon as I find my Reason Studio, where is it at? There it is. Okay. All right. One more, and we're about done. So I'm gonna let it do its thing as it's loading up. Let Reason Studio, because I got 11, I'm going to get 13. Why it's doing that? I bought another microphone, I bought another MXL microphone, just like the one I'm using right now. I bought another one, and I'm going to order the mod kit for this one, like I got that one. So I have an identical pair, but this one's a stock one. So it has the stock it still has the stock capacitors and stuff like in it. But I'm going to excuse me. I'm going to order the upgrade to it. And the reason why it's called the Marshall MXL 2006. The reason why I got this microphone, because the specs, believe it or not, in Audio Test Kitchen, and I'll talk about that program in a different video. Audio Test Kitchen. There we go. Audio Test Kitchen allows you to test over 300 different types of mics to let you hear how they sound on different sources like guitar, piano, vocals. They did some recordings, and they let you hear everything from Mojaves to AKG, different types of microphones, Newman, Telefunkens, I mean, you name it. And they have Marshalls. And I couldn't believe the specs of this MXL 2006. The specs were pretty close to an actual $10,000 Telefunken 251. That's a popular vocal mic, especially for female vocals. It's the 251. This had pretty much the same spec. It was incredible how close the specs were on this 2006 to an actual $10,000 microphone. And I said, with that, along with a few modifier upgrades, you pretty much have a 251 microphone for like $100. So that's the reason why I bought it. And it was really good. That's why I bought another one. So it just came in today. But let me talk about this one. So I'm not going to really talk about here's the sequencer. There's the rack. I really want to talk about the mixer. So I'm going to go to let me go to the rack. F6. Let me add in. I'm just going to add in some audio tracks, right? I'm just going to add in some audio tracks. I'm just going to do like 8 audio tracks. I just want to talk about the mixer and the signal flow, like in Reason, as an example. So basically, if I go to, so now the mixer, how it works basically the exact same way on a console. You have your input section, your preamp section here. So you got the gain. You can invert the phase just like you would on the console. This is why I like this mixer. I wish all DAWs had mixers like this. And then of course you can do insert the pre, or you can change the order of the dynamics between, like this is your dynamic section, and it's mirrored. This is pretty much mirrored, almost like an actual SSL console. They were smart. I just wish the graphics, they would make the console look a little bit more realistic. And I'll show you what I'm talking about when I open up Reaper. I wish they would make it look, it looks good, but I wish they would just give it a little bit more on the graphics to make it look even more like realistic, like a console. They will be nailing it with this console. But this basically, if you ever saw a real SSL console, the signal flows the exact same way. So you can go from the preamp section. If you engage, turn on the dynamics, and then it'll go to the dynamics. And if you turn on the EQ section, and most of the time to turn it on, you just got to turn it on here, and that turns on the EQ section. And also you can change it. You can change the order. So you can, that way you can go from the dynamics to the EQ and then to inserts, the insert gear, or you can change the order and go to EQ and dynamics. Even though the dynamics and the EQ didn't move, it is, if you change it from EQ to dynamics, it'll go from the preamp, it'll jump down to the EQ, then into the dynamics, and then to the fader down here. So, but by default, it goes to the dynamics and then to the EQ. The reason why and you'll see this on channel strips too, like for example, my Avalon 737, it goes from preamp to dynamics to EQ, then to output. The reason why they do that is they're assuming that when you're recording something, for the most part, A signal chain would consist of the preamp and at least putting some sort of dynamics to control volume peaks and all that. And this is the reason why they run a preamp into a compressor before they record into their recording source. It's common practice in audio engineering. That's common practice to do that. Run it through a nice preamp, take your microphone, run it through a nice preamp, and then you run that into a compressor. Then you record into your source. Because a compressor a lot of times is going to control unnecessary dynamic over control volume peaks based on how you set the attack threshold, the release, and the ratio. The ratio is the crucial part. And then if you need to EQ, you engage your EQ. Some engineers they want to EQ the source first, then run it through a compressor. So you have the option to change the order. So I can change it to dynamics to EQ to insert, or I can change it to EQ to dynamics to insert. So it gives you the option, just like on a real SSL. An SSL console could do the exact same thing. So if you don't engage it, if we don't engage and I leave the EQ engaged, it's just going to go from the preamp to the EQ. But if I turn the EQ off, then it's not going to go through the compressor or the you're not going to go through the dynamic/gate. It's just going to go directly to the fader. And then once it goes from the fader, then in here, just like on the real console, like I got 8 auxiliary sends. Well, I got 10, but this one's got 8 auxiliary sends. So you got 8 auxiliary sends. The same way on the real console. I don't think SSLs have that many sends. I think most SSLs only have about 4. They might have maybe 5. They might have a stereo master, then 1, 2, 3, 4 individual monos. This one gives you 8, which is good. And then you also have the ability to insert, just like you would on the console. You have the ability to turn on inserts, so you can insert. But the way Reason works is you just have to put the piece of gear that you want to insert on that channel in. You have to add it in the rack, but that's a different video. But so that's your signal flow. Goes to the if it go from the preamp section to the fader, unless I tell it to go to the dynamics. If I turn on the dynamic, then it's going to go from the preamp to the dynamics and to the fader, unless I turn on the EQ. I turn the EQ, now it's going to go from the preamp to the dynamics to the EQ, then to the fader. And then from the fader, then it'll go to any in sends that you want to send, auxiliary sends. And then, of course, you got your FX returns here. You got your sends here, then your returns here. And these are your master send levels and your master return levels. So when it sends out, if you send out of the channel, it's going to the master send level here. And then from there, it's returning to the auxiliary send for you to hear it. Then it's coming to the master output. So you got your channel inputs here, then you got your master output. Your master output. And of course you got a bus compressor and all that. So, and then a lot of times you have to create bus channels and all that, but that's a different video. But that's the breakdown. So it's going on an hour. I just want to give you I'm going to close this out. No, not saving that. I'm going to open up Reaper right quick. And I'm opening up Reaper right quick. What I like about Reaper is you go to the Reaper's themes and you could change Reaper from look like a basic from a basic, like this is the tape, this is the track tape machine port window. But what I love about Reaper is I got a theme and it makes it look like a real console, and I'm going to bring it in here. That's what I love about the theme. So now this looks like an actual console. So you got your fader, this is the master faders here, channel faders. This is the master, But you got your faders look like you got your solo, and they light up as if you were, you know. Let me go to channel, like this channel. So you got your solo, and it illuminates like a real button on a real console. You got it illuminates like a real button. Phase and I can bring up the effects window, stuff like that. These are all my plugins. But then you got your pan, and you know, I can adjust the master volume input, the trim level, things like that. I can pan left and right. I can turn on my inserts. And then I can set my options where add a new send. So what it did now is it added a send channel. And I got bus groups here. So you can add all this in, but you just have to add them in. But that's what I love about this mixer window. You can it looks like a real console. The interface of it looks like a real console, which for people that are, you know, and that's what I love about this Reaper thing. And Harrison Mixbus also has a console that looks like a real console, but it didn't run on an hour. It's going an hour, so I'm done with the video. I'm just going to close this out. No, I don't want to say that. So that's it. I just wanted to talk to you about how you set up just how it correlates for how your mixer is designed to correlate like a real console. And that's the reason, that was the point of this video. So other than that, that's going to do it. And we'll look at you for part 6, video number 6, which I'm going to talk about compressors and EQs.